AI and ML, these are like digital fields. If you adopt it judiciously, they will accelerate whatever you do.
Correct.
But if you completely rely on them, outcomes could be different than your expectations. Panic calls coming to us. So, despite our regular monitoring of those essential drugs, oxygens, and then face masks, we have given sanitizer was not there.
I agree.
So, we have given a temporary license to the industrial spirit manufacturer. Various, instant decisions were taken
Yes.
to meet the demand. When I joined Blue Cross, that was my first job, so it was really exciting. So everything you see is newer to you. But honestly speaking, when I recall my first day of Blue Cross Laboratories, that day I was feeling sleepy because I had never worked 9 to 5. So college has luxury to get the breaks, but then there was too much to learn. Seniors, they have encouraged, they have holded our hands to learn the newer things, because if you see our pharmacy profession in our country, at least we do not have those sophisticated equipments, machines. So that was very fascinating for me to learn as quickly as possible, and seniors has helped me to learn those things.
So, given a choice, what you would prefer? Going back to R&D or staying here and
See,
Hello everyone. Welcome to Pharma Now. In today's conversation, we are going on the other side of the table in the pharma industry. Yes, we are going to talk to a regulator today. So let me talk quickly about Dr. Santosh Indraksha. He's a rare crossover. He spends almost a 15 years building drugs into R&D, like organizations like Vocard, Aurobindo, Johnson and Johnson. And then in 2017, he walked away with that manager roles, good salaries, and he joined CDSCO as an assistant controller. It was a big step. 8 years later, he has helped drafting Schedule M, various policies in clinical trials, new drugs, and built India's bilateral regulatory architecture across 16 countries. And now he runs a West Zone for India, a geographical heart of Indian pharma. So, this episode is a story of how someone who once sat on the receiving end of the regulation chose to write it. Dr. Santosh, welcome to our podcast. So, first of all, thanks a lot for taking this time out. I understand your schedule is always occupied. So, still, you have taken this time and you are ready to talk to us. So, that's really, we are feeling honored about it. So, welcome to the show once again.
thank you, Ravi. Thank you to have you on Pharma Now.
Sure. Thank you, sir. So, let's start with this conversation. Uh, I really wanted to phrase it like a boy from Marathwada.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So you have already a 25, 28 years of career in pharma, 15 years of that in R&D, and then later on all years as a regulators. And you are that one rare regulator who has that R&D background and be a regulator. So I wanted to start ki, when a boy from that Marathwada Nanded, did you thought about this ki you will become a regulator someday? Was it your dream from the childhood, or how was it?
Thank you, Ravi. This is very interesting question, basically, because quite often I also introspect when I look back my journey from a pharma student, then to a researcher.
Hmm.
Frankly speaking, research was my passion.
Okay.
And that's the reason I actually did my M.Pharm from Nasik College of Pharmacy after my graduation from Nanded. And I was doing good job there with good salary package, as you
Correct.
said in the introduction. But somehow, like if your destiny decides, then you come up with some kind of opportunities. Someone will educate you. Someone will, encourage you to apply. Um, there were few opportunities in the Maharashtra Service Commission also, NPSC, and there were few vacancies of assistant commissioner in the drugs. but I just did not apply, thinking that government job is not good for me. And then I left that, so I did not apply. Then a second attempt came in 2014. Then I took the chance and then applied for the MPSC also. There I got written cleared, and then um, there was also verbal oral examination that also I cleared. But somehow there were court cases and that could not go through. Meanwhile, UPSC has published one advertisement, and then I was like very much eager that I should get into the CDSCO. And then I studied, and then I could crack that exam.
Wow.
And that's the reason actually I could secure a first rank in the UPSC and join the post in
Oh wow,
2017.
first rank.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But this was a luck. Not I had never thought that I would go into the regulatory field. So destiny has taken me.
So was it like while doing the research on the drugs, you came to know, okay, okay, I have to comply with all these regulators only. So let me be a regulator. That kind of.
No, it was not. I had never thought that. So
Okay.
that was just an opportunity came, and then I studied and applied. But while I was in industry, because I was doing good, very good, progress there also, and I was with very nice industries that time who were like in the generics. Like Aurobindo is one of the top generic manufacturer.
Mhm.
Johnson and Johnson. He is one of the top researcher when you say novel and newer medicines, investigational new drugs. So I was doing quite a good job there, and I was very much satisfied on the personal and professional front. But this came, and then I grabbed it.
Now you said you would also introspect. So given a choice, what you would prefer? Going back to R&D or staying here and
No, I
making more
am
impact?
now, and I am enjoying this job also. And if you see the impact in terms of saving lives or impacting your population, this has a bigger
Mm,
impact in terms of ensuring the health and well-being of the population of our country, or
true that.
maybe to in earlier private career, I used to develop medicines, and then definitely I was working for one company or one organization. Now, whatever decision we take, whatever job profile we do, it has a bigger impact. So impact has changed a lot from private to government services, and I enjoy this now.
That's interesting. So let me go back to the your pharmacy days. So after you were completing a pharmacy, you joined R&D. What was the company? First company you said?
It was Blue Cross in 2004.
And was it a R&D
Yeah,
completely
it is.
R&D job?
Yeah,
Okay, and later on you moved to Vocard.
work hard, yes.
Okay, so walk me through that first week of your job. If you remember that, because fresh grad from
Yeah.
pharmacy must have some lot of thoughts, and then you join R&D. How was it?
So when I joined Blue Cross, that was my first job. So it was really exciting.
Uh,
So everything you see is newer to you,
uh,
because you have just stepped out of your college. Where in college you have everything like as a luxury. Uh, but when I, like, honestly speaking, when I recall my first day of Blue Cross Laboratories, that day I was feeling sleepy because I had never worked 9 to 5. So college has luxury to get the breaks. You can bunk the classes also. But then there was too much to learn. Seniors, they have encouraged, they have holded our hands to learn the newer things, because um, if you see our pharmacy profession in our country, at least we do not have those sophisticated equipments, machines. So that was very fascinating for me to learn as quickly as possible, and seniors has helped me to learn those things.
hmm. Right. So you feel that gap between our education, what our pharmacy education is providing, and what our industry is having.
Yeah, there is a gap, and there is a huge gap.
Mm.
academics have a lot of research capacities. They have time, they have acumen also, but they lack actually the high-end equipments. And that's the reason I always advocate that industry, pharmaceutical industry or medical device industry, they should collaborate with the academic
That's true.
institutions to come up with novel ideas and let the hits come from the research institutions, and then the translation can happen at the industry level.
That's true. We recently did one exercise with Modern College of Pharmacy in Pune. So, scientist Vishram Vaidya sir from Serum, he encouraged me ki, can we do some contamination control strategy workshop at pharmacy college. So as a pharma now, we thought, okay, it's a very noble idea. Why can't we do that? So we arranged one workshop. We took all the equipments from the industry, right from air sampler to complete gowning, clean room aseptic process, everything we took. We took industry experts there, and we did a whole day workshop. Those those kids were so mesmerized that time. So those were, of course, MSc first, second year students were there, just on a verge of joining industry. But they have not seen those equipment. They have not handled those equipment. They know everything in theory, but they were not knowing it. But when they got that feeling of wearing that
Apron,
gown, apron, and everything, and using that settle plates and media plates for doing air sampling, they feel real amazing. So the feedbacks were really great. So I really aligned with your thought that ki, if industry started communicating with the institutions, academia, that will bring hell lot of change in the pharmacy education. That's very true. So let me. Of course, you moved to Arvindo, Blue Cross, Vocard, and Johnson. I think your last assignment in the corporate life. All these were the different companies.
yeah.
One is generic giant, you said. One is mid-size Indian company. One is global innovator. The last one. So, what did each one teach you at their positions?
I think they have the different setup. If you speak about the Indian companies, mid-sized Indian companies, they have mindset that they will play into most of the Me Too markets, like Me Too drugs. They may come up with some novel combinations, but they do not involve themselves in the real innovation. Their formulation research and analytical research mainly targets the new products which are already there in the market. They don't want to engage in the clinical trials. They simply do product development, and then they do the tech transfer, and they generate the profits. So more into the businesses, not
Into
very much.
science.
Yeah, investment in the research is
Mm.
feeble. When I speak about Okhad, they have the combination approach. They are into the so-called innovation also, and they are into the domestic markets also.
Mm.
And that's the reason if you see the recent Zidebactam, cefepime combination of the Okhad, that is really playing the wonders in the therapeutic sector. More particularly for antibiotic resistance areas.
Yeah.
Aurobindo was more in terms of US market and Europe market. They were not interested in the domestic business. So that was again
A
focused
different approach.
drug product development with bioequivalence kind of
Correct.
setups, and
Correct.
they were like again Me Too. They had a few applications for 505(b)(2), like for getting those 180 days exclusivity. But they had again a different
Set.
business
Yeah.
objective. In Janssen, that is a pharmaceutical companies of Johnson and Johnson. They were into the real research, NCE or new biological entities, and there actually I found the difference that Johnson and Johnson had different tie-ups and setups and collaboration with the academic institutions, and they actually used to find the leads from the research institutions, and then clinical phases. were like conducted by the Johnson company, Johnson and Johnson company. So that's the reason each company had a different business objective, and they were performing good in their sectors.
Obviously. So while doing the job, you decided to pursue for a PhD. What was your motivation for
So
that?
that was like a kind of industry institution interaction program. So,
Okay.
and that is just to build our academic and professional excellence. And that was not kept in mind that I will go in the government service when I was in the research. So I thought PhD would be better for me to have, again, build my research acumen.
Okay. So then you decided to move to government CDSCO area. You talk about that story. So during that time, was your family aligned with you?
Obviously not. My father he was like objecting me that I should not enter into the government services looking at the salaries and then infrastructure at the government offices. We have very lavish offices in the corporates, but if you see the architecture of the government offices, they are old age building
Correct.
in old sitting places, uh, all file works. So my father was like he was not in very much favor of me joining in the government services, but then I did not listen him. My wife was like neutral. She was saying, because you are the best judge so you may take the decision. So one was neutral at my family, and then my father was like objecting.
No one was in support in a way.
Yeah, yeah. And my principal, my graduate college principal, he was also not insisting me to join this service. He was also aware that government service is not that kind of, for me at least, for my background, because I was uh, topping every year in the academics also, and then I was performing outstanding contributions in the all this my professional career. So he was aware that I could be doing wonders in the research rather than in the government sector.
But you never thought of, because you were good in research and doing, you were at all top notch, top places, right? Then you never thought about going to US or Europe, pursuing further things there, more lavish life, more R&D facilities.
Basically not. I had been given the opportunity when I was in Johnson and Johnson. They gave me to relocate in the countries like Italy, Belgium, and then there was South Korea and US also, because of my job in the technical operation that time in the bridges. But I could not like somehow. I liked Indian culture, so my family, my friends, so my country, my place.
But you never thought, ki, like, okay, let me go for at least couple of years and then I will come back.
No, for job work, I visited many countries,
Mm.
but then I never thought of, and I will never think also to settle outside.
Okay, that's very interesting point of view. Okay, so let's move to the 2017, your first day at CDSCO office. How was it?
Again, that day, like on the very first day, we have been called. There was one of my colleague also. We have been called in the ministry for joining. There we had the oath of allegiance and secrecy, and then after that, I went to CDSCO office, and we met DCGI, the then DCGI Dr. D.N. Singh,
Mm.
and uh, that was everything was for new for me.
Hmm.
CDSU we never heard while I was in the Johnson and Johnson, because we used to interact with USFDA,
USFD.
MHRA,
Yeah.
local regulatory interaction was not at least for the researchers. That
Mhm.
was for the plant-based interaction. So again, CDSU was an excitement for me, and Mm, for regulation, when you talk in terms of regulations, that was the first day when I touched Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940 just to learn, because
That time it was 1940 Act.
Yeah, it is still the same.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
our act is pre-independent act, Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940. So that day, because after the brief introduction from the senior officers, we met senior officers. So they also encouraged that we are from the industry and we may bring different, perspective to the regulations. And after some discussions, we went to library and I picked up that Drugs and Cosmetic Act, and then we read. So lot of regulations were similar, but
Mm.
this being the act and very concise rules,
Mm.
they were not very comprehensive. So
Mm.
that time I was thinking that when I compare to US regulations or European regulations, we need to bridge that gap by publishing more guidance documents or guidelines
Mm.
on the contemporary issues.
Mm. Mm. So, as you brought the topic of USFDA and MHRA, so the way industry look at MHRA and USFDA particularly, why similar kind of respect or similar kind of guidelines we are not expecting from the CDSCO? Because CDSCO is the most powerful body right now in our country in a way. But the way you also suggested, ki USFDA, MHRA, you were always knowing, but CDSCO you are not aware. Why there is not that much of awareness about CDSCO, and how you feel about it now become as a CDSCO?
Honestly, that time it was not the new drug approvals were given under the Schedule Y. That was not very
Mm.
comprehensive.
Mm.
Very few industry used to approach CDSU.
Mm.
They were usually approaching the regional state drug regulatory
Correct.
agencies,
Correct.
and we did not have much of the intervention.
Mm.
In 2017, actually, CDSU has got some role in the licensing and inspection.
Okay.
In 2017, we come up with joint inspection
Mm.
provisions, and that's the reason we started inspecting manufacturing premises.
Mm.
Then in 2017, we come up with medical devices rules
Right.
that had been made effective in 2018. Again, a joint responsibility to regulate category A and B is being regulated by the state.
Mm.
Category C and D, these are most riskier items,
Mm.
like moderate to most riskier items.
Mm.
So these drugs and devices are regulated by the CDSO.
Mm.
Similarly, in 2019, we have come up with new drugs and clinical trial rules,
Mm.
and that actually changed our way of interaction with the industry,
Okay.
because we have modified the definition of new drug.
Okay.
Now, anything which is like a new drug, new chemical entity, new biological entity,
Mm.
or a fixed dosage combination of already approved drugs,
Correct.
or uh, any vaccine, any RDNA product, any biological, xenograft, cell and gene therapies. So all those
Mm.
are treated as new drugs, and
Oh.
that means they have to be they have to take the permission from CDSU,
Okay.
and clinical trials also. The
Mm.
clinical trials also become very India being the source of a diversified population with racial and genetic differences. So for the innovators also, you give a lot of wisdom on the drug product,
Absolutely.
ADME or pharmacodynamics, and
Mm.
that's the reason we are uh, uh, encountering more clinical trial protocols these
Mm.
days. And after 2017, the CDSU as an organization has become more visible.
Got it.
Now we have recently amended schedulium, that these
Mm.
are the GMP principles. We have come up with the quick response codes,
Mm.
barcodes on the pharmaceutical packaging, and disk-based inspections.
Mm.
And there are so many things like
Which are coming
ethics
in.
committee,
Yeah.
clinical trial oversight, registration of BAB study centers,
Mm.
clinical trial sites. So all this has come as a joint activity, and that's the
Mm.
reason CDSU has become visible.
Mm.
And so we have 15 regional offices we have developed and one of the regional offices in Mumbai, which I am heading. It actually looks after Maharashtra, Chhattisgarh, Goa, Diu Daman, and also taking the administrative oversight of Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh.
Oh,
So, and we actually these offices are like mini DCJ offices.
mm,
We interact with the industry, we interact with the regulators on their issues, on their concerns, and then that way we are become more visible these
correct,
days.
correct. Wow, I'm sure about 2000s after 717 CDS has changed a lot
Yeah.
for sure. Before moving to Schedule M, I would certainly like to know about how it is drafted and everything. But for our audience, can we describe CDSCO? What is CDSCO? What role it plays? Uh, what role it has an impact on our Indian pharma industry? Maybe for awareness of our audience as well.
Well, CDSU is a national regulatory authority, drug regulatory authority, in fact, which is actually regulating the quality, safety, and efficacy of drugs, cosmetics, medical devices, vaccines, including veterinary medicines.
Okay.
The enabling act is Drugs and Cosmetic Act,
Mm.
1940, and it has periodically undergone amendments. The latest amendment was in 2008,
Okay.
and where we actually enhanced the penalties for uh, spurious drugs. We have
Mm.
made life imprisonment provisions in the Drugs and Cosmetic Act
Okay.
for whoever is convicted
Mm.
for the activities involved in the spurious drug manufacturing or selling or distribution.
Mm.
Similarly, the act is same for Ayush drugs also,
Yeah.
but a different Ministry of Ayush has been recently 5 6 years back when I think in 2015 or 16 they
Yeah.
have come up with Ministry of Ayush, and they actually see all these traditional medicines, Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha, homeopathy, Soya Rigpa, etc. But we at CDSU regulate allopathic drugs,
Mm.
medical devices,
Okay.
uh, approval for new drugs,
Mm.
clinical trials, vaccines, etc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I will come back to your question on the Schedule M.
Mm.
Schedule M was there since 1986, and then it has also undergone some changes in 2004 that made effect in 2008.
Okay.
And they were again based on that time, whatever the contemporary regulations were
Of course.
there, and WHO has been the guiding source for us to see the uh, you know see as a guiding source while we
Mm.
formulate our
Mm.
scheduling principles. Similarly, in 2018 also we have referred the WHO TRS guidelines for the scheduling principles, and then we have made it in align with the WHO guidelines.
Okay.
This time what we did is we have cross-referenced the guidance documents more specifically on the validation, HVAC
Okay.
system, cleaning validation,
Mm.
and there are other critical
Yeah.
processes that any changes in the WHO guidelines will automatically applies to
Mm.
our scheduling principles. So,
Okay.
without mandating that the frequent changes to the schedule
Mm.
M. If you see what is the difference between the earlier schedule M and the revised schedule M, there are differences in terms of what we do
Mm.
now and what we expect. The infrastructure wise differences are very minimal, or rather I would say there are no additional new infrastructure requirement
Okay.
compared to the previous one. There
Okay.
was HVAC requirement earlier also, there was validation
Mm.
requirement earlier
Mm.
also, there was recall system.
Mm.
So entire thing was there.
Okay.
Stability data was there.
Mm.
What we have done in the revised schedule M is we have come up with pharmaceutical quality system and
Yeah.
quality risk management.
Okay.
This means that everything has to be documented in a
Mm.
more elaborative manner.
Correct.
If something is, say for example, a equipment is placed in a manufacturing premise, so installation qualification, its design qualification, its performance
Mm.
qualification, its operational qualification has to be demonstrated.
Correct.
Vendor qualification has to be done. And if the process like is being proposed on that new manufacturing site or machine, it has to be taken as the change control, and there has to be training to the personnel involved. So more on the documentation
Correct.
expectations, data integrity,
Mm.
and after 2008, like the computers involvement, and then PLCs and
Digitalizations, yeah.
digitization equipments also have become more automated. So those computer system validation, data integrity, these facets actually have been embedded in the revised scheduling.
Correct. So I think, if I'm not wrong, we are going more towards the global standards.
Yes.
So we are trying to match global standards, because whatever pointers you are saying, yeah,
Yes.
those are very much important and very much aligned with the contamination control strategies.
Yes.
That's really wonderful. So I think, sir, Schedule M you drafted in 2018 October, and we finalized it in December 2023, if I'm not wrong. So almost 5 years of consultation with the industry and everything. So I wanted to know from your table, during those 5 years, how was it? Like, what kind of consultation, what kind of talks you were having with the industry, and how difficult was it to get everyone on board for this?
See, obviously, when a newer regulation comes, it requires some additional compliance
Hmm.
from the industry. And when compliance is demanded by the regulatory authority, there is obvious resistance from the industry.
Correct.
But we had mixed feedback. The companies who are already doing export businesses, they were
They
already
were
on good
open,
near
yeah.
the US
Yeah.
FDA or MHRA or
Exactly.
other European regulations. MSME sector was like they were catering to India
Mm.
or semi-regulated or so-called non-regulated
Mm.
markets, and to actually come up with these revised regulations, they felt like this is not possible for them. It may involve a lot of cost, lot of
Mm.
investment in the training of the personnel, competency building, skills and competency, etc. So there was a resistance from the MSME,
Mm.
while there was like advocacy from the so-called
Mm.
exporters, export-oriented companies. So government has convinced them. They give the assurance that we will train you on the revised schedule. We also convince the industry that there are no newer requirements if you compare with the earlier schedule.
Mm.
As I was saying, for the HVAC, because infrastructure takes a lot of investment, and these are like the newer requirements will take you more on the documentation. So you have to train your people. You have to have the systems in place. So that's the reason, like we took so many consultation with the industry, their associations, and that has taken actually time to finalize. Government was very keen to give the buffer time to the industry also, and that's the reason we have given 1 month, 1 year time to the MSMEs, those who are having turnover less than 250 crores. And government had also given some schemes and incentivization, not from directly from the Ministry of Health, but Department of Pharma has given some incentivization under RPTA scheme to build this technology upgradation.
Okay.
So government has done its part. We have done nationwide training programs.
Correct.
I mean, we are also continuing to do so.
Correct. So, uh, another important aspects of Indian pharma, of course, our US FDA and MHRA compliant plants are world class, and our top pharma companies, because of which we are right now known as a pharmacy of the world, we are providing amazing products. But when it comes to the MSME and when it comes to the supplying to the Indian market, we have also seen some kind of serious concerns in area of drug counterfeiting. I think you are one of the instrumental in building that QR code area as well a couple of years back. And then current one of the case in last couple of months is like that a cough syrup case which happened, that must have created a lot of pressure on CDSCO. So in that case, how government is looking at it, like, how CDSU is looking at it, because If companies can build a facility to provide world-class drugs to US and European markets, similar kind of standards cannot why cannot be implemented for the Indian consumers?
Yeah, this is a very good question. In fact, the industry should introspect why there are like different standards from the for the manufacturing, at least not standards, but manufacturing facilities for the so-called highly regulated markets and for the domestic markets. But there is a discrimination
Hmm.
from the industry because in India, as I was saying, there are no specific guidance document, no detailed
Hmm.
guidance
Hmm.
document. So our inspections we see as per compliance to the drugs rules 1945,
Hmm.
and they are not so elaborative. Now we have come up with data integrity and
Hmm.
computer system
Yeah.
validation and so on and so forth, but earlier it was not there.
Hmm.
And you have to also remember that if the drugs are marketed intended to be marketed for Indian population, they have to meet the Indian pharmacopoeia requirements. So again, Indian pharmacopoeia standards and USP, they are not exactly aligned. Sometimes there could be differences that IP may not require the impurities to be analyzed, and USP does so. So the industry prefers to have different setup for the Indian supplies and for the highly regulated supplies.
Hmm.
But we have come up to reduce those gaps, even if they
Hmm.
have different plants. The domestic plant should also be upgraded to the to that level. And that's the reason we have upgraded our Schedule M,
Hmm.
and we have come up with the quick response codes for top 300 brands, and DTAB has also agreed that it should be extended to other
Hmm.
category of products like vaccines, oncology products,
Right.
NDPS drugs, and we will be doing in phase wise manner.
That's true. So can you tell me more about your QR code program, which is basically to avoid the counterfeiting, or rather address the counterfeiting of the drugs?
In the QR code, for all the active pharmaceutical ingredient that are either manufactured or imported in our country,
Hmm.
they should bear the that QR code.
Okay.
For API, it is mandatory for
Okay.
everything. For formulation, because again there was a resistance from the industry, so MSME was opposing to implement or get it applied for all the brands. So what we did is the vulnerability is there for counterfeiting for
Hmm.
high value brands.
Hmm.
So we have identified top 300 brands
Okay.
which are highly vulnerable for such counterfeiting,
Okay.
and we have brought under that regulation,
Hmm.
quick response code. Now that runs very successfully, so DT has agreed that
Now
it
you
has
will
to be
try to
extended
move
to
to
other
other drugs.
vulnerable category of products.
Correct. So I think it's a very balancing act what CDSO need to play. So you have one end, you have a MSME lobby, industry lobby who is telling you to oppose it. On other end, you also need to look at the Indian citizens whose lives are important, and we need to safeguard them with the counterfeiting or a poorer quality of drugs. So how CDSO handles this pressure?
The consultation and coming at a consensus is the only approach, because when the differences are there, you need to consult more, you have to educate them more, you have to convince them by conducting trainings, and that's what we at CDSU and Ministry of Health we do.
Hmm. I heard a lot of reports also that keep at the CDSO level we are not having that much of manpower to handle this much of population and industry. मतलब, we are humongous size country, diversity is so much, and you will find in a small gala also people are creating drugs or some kind of chemicals or APIs or anything. For that, how big CDSO should be?
Honestly, we are a very small organization in terms of manpower. When we compare with USFDA or even UK MHRA or PMDA, lot of experts are there. Like our inspector is also an inspector, means he is an enforcement officer also. And when we perform the review of dossiers, we become the scientific experts also. So that's the reason, like, and when we prosecute them in the court of law, we become the police officer also. And that's the reason, like, there are a lot of demands from the regulatory expectations. Our law also is made like that. But slowly, if you see the recent budget, there is uh, financial budget allocation specifically for strengthening of the CDSCO. And our Honorable DCJ, Dr. Rajiv Singh Raghuvanshi, under the support from Minister of Health, we are going to build the scientific cadre also, who
Oh
will be
wow,
actually exclusively for the scientific review.
very great
The drug
steps.
inspectors and medical device officers, they will be inspecting
Correct.
the premises. And then, of course, we will also be having the support of dedicated support of a legal cell backed by the advocates and legal counsels who will be supporting us in prosecuting those not of standard quality matters.
It's a very welcoming stage. Congratulations for that, sir.
Thank you.
Great. So let also have now move to I think 2021, the most prominent year in a history of country where we were suffering from COVID. And I think that time you were there in Delhi and handling the situations inside the room. I wanted to know your experience because CDSCO must be at very high pressure that point. To move very fast in drug approvals and every trials and everything. How was your experience that time?
So honestly, that was a very difficult period
Yeah.
for everyone. Like for the regulators also, it was a very difficult time. And we had very small number that time. At least we will be now building our strength, but that time we had very small strength in the HQ, which was actually a war room for monitoring the availability of the essential supplies. Um, Ministry of Health has published the list of medicines which are to be like consumed in the ICU setups and other essential medicines. So we at CDSU, we are coordinating with the state drug controllers, manufacturers, and also the police and administration, the local administration of districts and police also, to ensure that, because lockdown was there,
Correct.
there was restriction to allow those medicine to be shipped from one location to another location.
Correct.
So online stock of those essential medicines were being taken by us. There were almost 295 medicines, close to 300 medicines, essential medicines, and there were 47 odd drugs which were actually used in the ICU setups. And then there was also scarcity of the mask, then gowns, then there were no kits. When COVID was declared on 22nd March in our country, that time we had not a single kit to diagnose the presence of COVID-19 virus. But with the help of industry, with the help of ministry, with the help of the regional regulatory authorities, and actually we would have more than 650 IVD kits for the COVID-19 diagnosis. And that is how, like, we have like taken the collective approach in countering, as someone was saying in the in one of the conference also. The Western media was saying that India cannot sustain because the population size is so big, and our infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure, is also highly vulnerable for getting it collapse. And that's the reason. But somehow, with 24/7 support from each one of the contributors, like innovators, there were startup cells also, who actually come up with very novel instantaneous diagnostic kits. ICMR was playing a bigger role, industry was playing a bigger role, we at CDSO, Department of Pharma. That's how we have
But how was the coordination looks like that time? ICMR, then industry, then
so,
Department of Pharma,
so
CDSCO.
everybody was on toes. So there was a room there in the Ministry of Health. So all these officers, so-called focal points, were coordinating with their agencies, and then ministry used to brief every day. So on the health ministry was to give the briefs about those infections, and then how the fatalities have occurred, what is the transmission rate, and so on and so forth. So that was like coordinated efforts that we could took.
So you used to go home or you used to stay in the
Sometimes we
department only?
stayed back. Sometimes we stayed back. And going home also is a challenging, because then you need to be you need to make the containment to your family members, because you are wandering here and there, so you are prone for more such kind of infections. And you were also speaking about the approvals. That time what we did is, for approval of the vaccines, we were relying upon the collaboration we had with US FDA, UK MHRA. We had collaborative arrangements with 14 odd countries, 14 or 16 countries that time
Mm.
in 2021. So regulatory reliance was there. We were coordinating for review of those vaccines with UK MHRA, US FDA, and that actually reduced our regulatory timeline, because
Oh,
their learnings were shared to us, and
correct.
then our concerns were also shared to them. So combined review has yielded the faster approvals. And in new drugs and clinical trial rules, we already had these provisions to expedite the faster approvals for certain pandemic situations or
Mm.
unmet therapeutic needs. So we have explored that mechanism.
Mm. Interesting. So during that time, do you were having that confidence that ki we will through this situation?
Obviously, I was hesitant in terms of, like, because there were shortages of oxygen, there were no medicines, there were no diagnostic kits, proper contamination clothing was not there, flights were disrupted, everything was like stopped on one instance. So lot of challenges were there, and I also personally became very panicked.
Oh,
Yeah, because that's how the situation
of
was.
course,
Yeah,
of course. And you were looking at the larger picture,
yeah,
which was more dangerous.
yeah,
Look, at our level, we might be knowing, okay, what is happening in our area,
yeah.
what is happening in my building, okay, who is got infected with the COVID. But at your level, you are looking at 130 crore population and looking at the whole dashboards live.
Exactly. There were like panic calls coming to us. So despite our regular monitoring of those essential drugs, oxygens, and then face masks we have given, sanitizer was not there.
I agree.
Industry was not there. Industries were not manufacturing sanitizers at that scale which we used to
Exactly.
demand that time. So we have given the temporary license to the industrial spirit manufacturers.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how, like, various instant decisions were taken
Yes.
to meet the demand. There was a, like, surge in every kind of thing. There were challenges in getting the routine oxygens also, medicated oxygen. So we have given licenses to the industrial oxygen suppliers.
Correct. I think from steel plants everywhere
And
you
we
were
used to
sourcing the.
see the people, they are like getting on the bus stops, and then they are like moving. So that was a very horrific situation.
Mm. But I think luckily because of the coordination and what we did at larger level by the government, we all survived this
Yeah.
phase.
But like the people with comorbidities, and then aged population, they had fatalities that time.
Through that, through that. But matlab, still we able to control the
Yeah,
damage.
yeah.
At a
At
larger
least,
extent,
yeah,
the way Western world was looking at us, कि, okay, this country will now gone.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But I think because of the all our departments and
Yes,
controlled, like coordinated efforts of the government, we really survived that. And
yeah,
thanks to the government for that, frankly.
true, true.
Okay, so I think let's move once again move to current status. Okay, so with so many changing environment, AI coming in picture. Last week, ChatGPT launch particular AI module for drug discovery. So lot of paradigms are changing on a drug discovery side, on uh, lot of auditing side, on quality side. Automations are coming, digitalization coming in. How CDSU is prepared for handling this?
Luckily, on the AI and ML front, um, we are thinking to introduce that in the regulatory review processes.
Okay.
But in terms of digitization, in 2015 we have taken
Mm.
that CDSU has to be completely digitized,
Mm.
and today almost more than 99% of our processes are 100% digitized.
Oh,
So
wow.
now if we apply the AI for these data analytic purposes, it is obvious that we can get good amount of
Mm.
inferences regarding our infrastructure, the regulatory oversight on in different areas, like may it be licensing, may it be monitoring on the safety surveillance,
Mm.
or the manufacturing, or clinical trial oversight, or ethics committee approvals, or blood center
Mm.
yeah, oversight, etc. So, and recently CDSA has conducted a hackathon to have certain insights on introduction of the AI in the drug regulatory review process.
Oh,
So
wow.
we are also thinking that the AI should be used in a judicious manner
Correct.
in the drug regulatory processes, review processes. Of course, the decision, and it will be a helping tool. It will not be seen as completely decision maker, but it will really help us to
It
scan the
will
data,
accelerate the
accelerate
process.
the process, to review the thousands of the pages of dossiers, and drug inspector or the scientific experts can focus the areas of concern out of those reviewed documents.
Correct. Have you implemented any use case currently in any of your workflow using AI? Maybe which you
We
can
are
share.
uh, we are currently using in analytics only,
Okay.
not in terms of review, but
Okay.
in coming years you will see that change.
Okay. So, what do you think? What this AI will have an impact on Indian healthcare and Indian pharma industry?
See, AI and ML, these are like digital twins, and they are like the enablers. If you
Mm.
adopt it judiciously,
Mm.
they will accelerate whatever you do.
Correct.
But if you completely rely on them,
Mm.
the outcomes could be different
Yeah.
than your expectations.
Mm.
And that's the reason you have to have AI ML in place.
Mm.
But you should also upgrade your people to more effectively use those AI ML outcomes and
Mm.
suggestions, and then foster your businesses.
Mm.
So similarly, it will reduce definitely the repetitive kind of things will be definitely reduced,
Mm.
and more value additive works will be done by the industry and also by the regulators. So definitely there will be a positive impact of.
True. So I think global agencies have started introducing a lot of amendments. So 21 CFR Part 11 has now AI policy in place, GAM 5 policy in place. There are so many. So US FDA has also launched AI chatbot kind of stuff, plus some kind of AI framework. So will CDSU, can we expect there will be some amendment which will come in place and which will give a notification to the country?
Uh, I'm not sure if they will be taken up very immediately,
Mm-hmm.
but as the regulation may change, the regulatory dynamics, if desired, that would be certainly uh, taken care of that time. But you were referring to US FDA, and US FDA has recently given one warning letter based. Yeah, you must have seen that.
Yes, I have seen
And
that
that was a warning letter to one of the company who were actually using AI as a
for the
complete tool
response.
for the response. So that's the reason I was telling you have
Yeah.
to use it judiciously, but you cannot replace your human intelligence against the artificial intelligence.
Absolutely, I agree with you because it can be your assistant, but the
Yeah,
final response needs to be done by you, not by AI.
exactly.
And then you cannot respond that my AI has not given me that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was really something to think about for sure. So, sir, let me move towards the final question. So, if I given a chance, if you get a complete freedom, okay, what that one policy you would like to come up in a CDSCO?
I will integrate, if that is like a wish for me to change, then I will integrate the entire supply chain, right from the manufacturer to the distributor to the wholesaler
That is a
to
need of ours, sir.
the retailer and to the end consumer, so
Absolutely.
that nothing malified or illicit comes into your supply chain. And consumer, as a consumer, I should be having information at the click of c- something which is like a QR code scan. So that should give me entire journey right from the manufacturer.
Mm,
I should be able to also review the test reports.
mm,
I should also be able to escalate my grievances if there are any. Say, for example, in my blister, I found one tablet missing,
mm,
or there is some particulate matter in the cup syrup or
mm,
injectable. So immediately I could connect my industry. Because connecting regulator is a mandatory process.
mm,
That is the escalatory process.
mm,
But connecting actual manufacturer, raising them the grievance,
mm,
would be more beneficial and more
mm,
effective way. And that's the reason this part slowly we are also doing, but in the fragmented approach.
mm.
But one setup to ensure that quality, safety, and efficacy
Mm.
is this something which I really think of.
You will not believe, just couple of days back, me and couple of experts were sitting together and we were discussing, and we came up with the same thought. Why can't we have an integrated supply chain right from your supplier's warehouse to, or rather manufacturing batch to the end user, end customer? And can we consider this is your dream project?
Yeah, this is my dream. This should be my dream project.
Can we expect that these are some years come in coming years?
I'm not sure. This was a wish. So
That's wonderful, sir. And it was really wonderful talking to you. I've certainly I have so many questions, but we have a time limit, so which we need to follow for sure. But I'm sure ki we will, as a Pharma Now, as a media and the government, we all should work together to create that awareness what you are talking about. And of course, we wanted to have this wish come true so that this will change the picture of what Indian pharma looks like. And I think we can certainly guide world for this, because I don't think no country has this kind of system yet. And I think with the Indian IT infrastructure and the brains what we have, this is absolutely possible.
this is absolutely possible. I always see the example of UPI payments, the way India
Absolutely,
has
sir.
come up with.
Absolutely.
This is also a good area to come up and show the world that India can do wonders in the supply chain management also.
I hope this podcast will be like Narendra Modi ji will listen to this and they will put the order. Okay, we need to have this, because that kind of determination is required on ground. So UPI and everything, like the way Nandan Nilekani put up all this infrastructure. So I think this is absolutely, we have all brains in country,
Yeah.
and we can certainly build this. And if we have a regulator like you, I'm sure someday we can able to come up with this.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So
Great. So
very.
thanks a lot once again for coming to our podcast and having this conversation and with an open mind.
Yeah.
So I really loved having this conversation with you.
Thank you so much. Thank